Welcome to another episode of Realistic Fitness on SHUPirates.com, brought to you by Adidas. And as always, I'm strength and conditioning coach Angelo Gingerelli. In this week's episode, we're going to take a second and talk about eccentric training. Now, if you're a college sports fan, you realize the difference between an eccentric coach and a complete raving lunatic is how many games they win. But in the gym, what eccentric means is the phase of the contraction where your muscles are lengthening despite your best efforts to stop that from happening. So on this chest press, the concentric phase of the movement is I'm pushing away. I have an isometric hold out here, and then I can eccentrically contract the muscles to lower the weights down as slow as possible. Okay, so a couple things you want to remember when talking about specific kinds of muscular contractions is the human body muscle contracts in three main ways. The first is the concentric phase, and that's the total tension developed is sufficient to overcome any resistance to shortening. So that's the up phase of most movements, and to take it to its most basic terms, if I'm doing a bicep curl with a dumbbell, and I put a 25-pound dumbbell in my hand, and I contract my bicep and generate more than 25 pounds of pressure, that dumbbell is going to curl up towards my shoulder, and I'm going to do a concentric or up phase of that movement and successfully curl the dumbbell. The isometric phase of a contraction is a little different. This is where the total tension developed is equal to the resistance and the muscle length remains relatively constant, also known as the hold phase of most of our exercises. So to stay with that bicep example, if I have a 25-pound dumbbell in my hand and I generate exactly 25 pounds of pressure, the dumbbell is going to stay still, my muscles are going to contract, but it's not going to go anywhere. And then the end is the eccentric contraction. The eccentric contraction means the total tension developed is less than the resistance and the muscle lengthens despite its best attempts to contract, and this is known as the down phase or negative phase of most of our exercises. So if we stay with that bicep example one last time, now I have a 25-pound dumbbell in my hand and I can't generate 25 pounds of pressure. Either I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I'm mentally checked out of the workout already, and despite my best efforts on my bicep, I'm contracting, but I'm only generating 24 or less pounds of pressure, and my bicep elongates despite the fact that I'm trying to make it contract. If you do this long enough, the arm will fully extend, and the dumbbell will go back to its starting position. Now, one thing to keep in mind with eccentric training, and if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. We're all stronger eccentrically than we are concentrically. If you take it to a bench press example, so for example, a 100-pound bench presser, if you have a spotter, you can probably lower 125, 150 pounds down to your chest and have your spotter pick it up off of you. So we want to be careful with eccentric training. It's a good way to train, and negative reps are positive if we're trying to get something out of our muscles that we can't normally get, because we're able to train with bigger and heavier loads than we can concentrically or isometrically. When doing any kind of negative or eccentric reps in the gym, you want to make sure to have a spotter and do everything in a safe and controlled environment as possible. You're moving the weights very slowly, but there's a great chance of injury because you're a lot of times using heavier loads than you can concentrically. Because we're doing more damage to the muscle fibers than we are when we're doing regular weight training. So what that also means is we need to have increased recovery time, great nutrition and hydration in between workouts, and give our body time to recover from every eccentric or negative rep we perform. Most machines, like this chest press I'm on right now, are very easy to do eccentric reps on. Other popular ways to do negatives are on the bench press, pull-ups or chin-ups, or on push-ups. And it's very simple to do this. You do the concentric phase or the away or the push phase as if it's a normal movement, and then we do the opposite side of that as slow as possible. So we're coming down as slow as we can on a push-up and then pressing up normally. We're coming down as slow as we can on a pull-up and then pulling up at regular speed. These allow our muscles to work harder than they can concentrically and to really get great gains. So like we said a little bit earlier, there's three main ways your muscles contract, and we want to train in all three kind of contractions. So on this chest press, the concentric phase is when I'm pushing away, the isometric phase when I'm holding the weights out like this, and the eccentric phase when I'm lowering them slowly and under control back to my starting position. Now to really train that eccentric phase and get the most out of every single muscle fiber in my pecs for this movement, I'm going to press it out at a normal pace, and I'll lower it back over at least 5 seconds. You can space it out to 8 to 10 seconds depending on how hard you really want to go. So if I want to count nice and slow, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. You can see how hard that was, how hard it was for me at the end of that 10 seconds. If you do that for 3 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 10, that's really a ton of work on your pecs that you can't get training doing regular concentric reps that in some ways are quite a bit easier. So that's another episode of Realistic Fitness on SHUPirates.com, brought to you by Adidas. Again, I'm strength coach Angelo Gingerelli, and remember, think positively but train negatively.